Folks, with the recent indictments of Rudolph Giuliani, Donald Trump, and the others, to me, this is a case of the chickens coming home to roost. Because for the longest time, they both exhibited what I considered to be anti black racism. In 1992, Giuliani led a racist police mob riot at the steps of City Hall in New York City, really against David Dinkins. He couldn't hide his racism. That racist police mob riot at the steps of City Hall in 1992 rivaled that of January 6th when the Trump supporters stormed the Capitol, which was enticed by Giuliani and Trump. For those of you who don't know, David Dinkins was New York City's first black mayor. In September of 1992, as many as 10,000 so called demonstrators blocked traffic in downtown Manhattan on September 16th. Reporters and innocent bystanders were violently assaulted by the mob as thousands of dollars in private property was destroyed in multiple acts of vandalism. The so called protesters stormed up the steps of City Hall, occupying the building. They then streamed onto the Brooklyn Bridge, where they blocked traffic in both directions, jumping on the cars and trapped terrified motorists. Many of the police mob were carrying guns and openly drinking alcohol. Yet the uniformed police present did little to stop them. Why? Because the rioters were nearly all white, off duty New York City police officers. They were participating in a Patrolmen's Benevolent Association demonstration against Mayor David Dinkins' call for a civilian complaint review board and his creation earlier that year of the Mullen Commission, formed to investigate widespread allegations of misconduct within the New York City Police Department. Did you catch that, folks? They were protesting allegations of widespread misconduct within the New York City Police Department. If you're so upstanding and so honest, what do you have to hide? I'm just saying. In the center of this mayhem, standing on the top of a car while cursing Mayor Dinkins through a bullhorn, was mayoral candidate Rudy Giuliani. Beer cans and broken bottles littered the streets as Giuliani led the crowds in chants, calling Dinkins at the time a washroom attendant and insulting him, anti black racism. Now, this is reported in an article in 1992, the New York Times article. And this is the man who was called America's mayor? Really? And this is far from the only time that Giuliani showed terrible judgment and what a bad mayor he really was. He was a horrible mayor. He got credit for 9/11, but can somebody tell me what did he really do? Cuz I sure don't know. Can somebody please tell me what did he do on 9/11 that was so great? But I do have another rhetorical question for you. But before I answer, let me reiterate that it was a terrible tragedy that happened on 9/11. It hit me personally because I used to work in those buildings. Yes, it was a terrible tragedy, and our hearts still goes out to those who lost loved ones, those family members and friends, and the buildings and the property that was destroyed during 9/11. So again, I ask, do you know what else was destroyed during 9/11 that no one talks about? Rudy Giuliani's bunker was destroyed. Now, Giuliani's bunker was supposed to be an emergency management center. It was bulletproof and it was bomb resistant. It cost the city and the taxpayers $15 million. It had a red phone with direct access to the White House, but it went up in smoke with the rest of the buildings on 9/11. Again, had this happened under David Dinkins, we would have never heard the end of it. And Giuliani got a free pass on that emergency bunker project because that center was supposed to be a center where he would keep New York safe from such attacks that happened during 9/11. And we all know that didn't happen. Yet, on 9/11, I seem to remember that you could not keep his face off television, and the media gave him a pass. The medium touted him as some type of hero. And to me, he didn't do nothing during 9/11 that any other decent, responsible, elected official would have done. To this day, I still don't know how he became such a hero. Why, just by being mayor during that time? And no one held him accountable during that time for his emergency safety bunker. Rudy's bunker was located at 7 World Trade Center on the 23rd floor. And yes, as we said, it went down with the rest of the buildings. Now we reiterate, our hearts and our prayers still goes out to those who lost lives and the loved ones and the property and all of the businesses that was affected by that terrible tragedy. But again, we have to tell the truth. Rudy didn't keep New Yorkers safe from nothing. Another example of his terrible management skills and his pure racism, hey, let's just call it what it was, is the stop and frisk policy that was implemented under Giuliani. Pure racism. Now, that controversial policy allowed police officers to stop, interrogate, and search New York City citizens on the sole basis of reasonable suspicion. In 1999, under Giuliani, blacks and Latinos made up 50% of New York's population, but accounted for 84% of the city's stops. Those statistics have changed little in more than a decade following that. According to the court's opinion between 2004 and 2012, the New York Police Department made 4.4 million stops under the citywide policy. More than 80% of those stops were black and Latino people. The likelihood of a stop of a so called African American New Yorker yielding a weapon was half that of white New Yorkers. Let me repeat that. The likelihood of a stop of an African American New Yorker yielded a weapon was half that of white New Yorkers. And the likelihood of finding contraband on African Americans who were stopped was one third that of white New Yorkers. So it looks like they should have been stopping the white New Yorkers as way more than they were stopping the black and Latino New Yorkers. In 2013, Judge Shira Scheinin ruled that New York City Police Department's stop and frisk tactics violate the U.S. Constitution's Fourth Amendment prohibition of unreasonable searches and seizures. Are you hearing me, folks? This policy was ruled unconstitutional. It was illegal, an illegal policy implemented by none other than Rudolph Giuliani. So as far as I'm concerned, he's been a criminal for quite some time. Now, as far as Donald Trump is concerned, in 1989, he took out a full page ad in every major newspaper in New York State to bring back the death penalty because of the case of the Central Park jogger. Now, this case involved a young lady who was brutally attacked and left for dead. 5 young innocent men, 4 black and 1 Latino, were charged and convicted of a crime that they did not do. And what did Donald Trump do? As I said earlier, he took out a full page ad in every major newspaper in New York City and spent over $85,000 demanding the execution for this crime that these young men did not commit, asking to bring back the death penalty. Approximately 30 years later, all 5 were exonerated. DNA proved that they had nothing to do with this heinous crime. Today, they are known as the Exonerated Five. So, if it were up to Donald Trump, those innocent young black men would all have been put to death for a crime that they did not do. So, who is the real criminal here? Now, I don't know how many of you remember this case back then, but during that time, this case was everywhere. And history proved that none of them had anything to do with that crime. I think it's about time that these true criminals are finally put in handcuffs where they belong. So I say the chickens are coming home to roost. The Black Excellence and Abundance channel, where Black history is every day. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And always remember, thou art rich.